Good morning, New Life. My name is Josiah Rodriguez, and this is my New Life story. So I am from Kansas City originally. I grew up in Kansas City. My parents were actually both missionaries with a group called YWAM, stands for Youth with a Mission, and that's kind of how they met. I never grew up on the fields, but missions and church was always a huge part of my life. They tried to instill that kind of spirit within us. And then I went on my first missions trip when I was probably like 7 or 8, and that was kind of a huge part of my story. I remember that my parents chose for us to go over our Christmas, and how, as like a 7, 8-year-old, I was really upset that I was losing my Christmas to go on this missions trip to, help people who are needy or who are less fortunate. And that was definitely the perspective I had as a kid. But I remember at the end of the trip, they offered for people to be able to stand up and kind of share about their experience. It was actually at an orphanage, so it was in front of quite a few people. And even being that young, I remember standing up and grabbing the mic and talking about how humbled I was in that moment. Here I thought that I was going to offer things to them. I was going to offer things to these people who needed my help, who I could share the Lord with. But instead, how much I was really changed by them, just seeing their joy in what little they had, they offered. In what little they had, they were joyful. In what little they had, they loved their family well, and all those things. So that was definitely a big turning point, especially as a kid growing up. Being so young, I didn't really do much about my faith until more like middle school. Middle school kind of marked a turning point for me because I definitely wrestled with things like depression and anxiety, mostly a lot of depression. I had this really horrible idea that I just wasn't loved. But the only one that I was confident that loved me was God. And I remember hearing stories about Paul. I think he speaks in Romans just about how, to die is gain. And, in my young brain, I really clung on to that idea. And I honestly believed it. I believed that if I die today, I know where I'm going to go. So to die is gain, which really, had me wrestle with a season of depression, and how kind of like similar to, I think it's Elijah in Kings, he kind of just asked the Lord, like, I might as well just be dead right now. So please let me die and I'll be with you. I had that similar mentality. I was too afraid to try anything myself because I wasn't aware, like, if I actually took that step, would I still be saved? And would he still love me? It'd been kind of a long season of that. And he really just told me, like, I didn't hear him audibly. I've never had that, but I just kind of felt like he was saying, yes, you're not wrong. Like, you are right. If you were to die, that would be a gain. You would be with me, but that's a very selfish view of your life. All you're thinking is of you. If you die, then that would be a gain. You would get to be with me in heaven. But I don't have you here for yourself. There's billions of other people on this planet that don't know me, that don't have that reality, that if they passed, then they would be with me in eternity. And that's why I have you here. It's not for you. Your life is not your own. It's for me, and I still have purpose for you here. One of the main things that had my wife Natalie and I to kind of settle and really just choose New Life as a church was we heard that there was this missions group. Missions is always something that has been in my life, and I'm sure if and when you hear her story, it's been a big part of hers as well. And it's actually one thing that really brought us together as a couple. So we're really excited that we're launching missions this year. The first one is July to Romania, and then the next one is in September, and they're going to be going to Brazil. So really excited for those teams. Honestly, a little bit jealous that at least in this season, with a couple littles, with programs and other things in life that, we're not going to be going. We're not going to be a part of those trips. But, one thing that I would say is to people who don't feel called to go themselves is that you can always be a part of those trips. Whether through that's giving, whether that's praying, whether that's just supporting the team once you know who's going to be going, or those types of things. Not all of us actually get called to go, but we are all called to be a part of missions in the church.